Hello there, let's talk today about Axis camera IP configuration. As you can see, I have an Axis camera connected to a switch and the camera is powered using a PoE cable. Okay, so I have a PoE switch just right here. The first port powers the camera using a PoE cable. And that's enough to bring the camera up. And then you need to connect your camera to a computer. Right here I have a computer connected to the same switch. And here I have another device, okay? But it's important to have at least the computer and your camera. Then you can use a software that finds the camera in the network. So here on my screen, you can see that I have this Axis IP utility. You can download it from the Axis website. So when you launch this software, it's going to broadcast your network and look for the cameras available, right? So here it just needs to wait and the software finds the camera in the network. If you're not connecting to a router, you're gonna have the default IP address for Axis cameras, which is 192.168.0.90. So here you have it. And if you want to have a different IP, you need to connect your camera to a router, okay? Or you can connect your switch to your router and then the router is going to give the camera an IP address. So that's the idea. And if you come here and just click on the IP address here on the Axis IP utility, you're gonna see this option for device web interface. When you click here for the first time, it's going to open a web browser and then you get this message that's not secure, but you just need to connect here to advanced and proceed to the unsafe mode. Then you can log into your camera. At first time, you need to create a password, okay? So let me just create a password here. There are some rules for the password, so it can be a strong password or weak password. Here it says that's a weak password, but I will create a login and continue anyway, okay? Here we go. Now I need to type it again. Remember that's root here for the username and then your password. And here we go. I'm logging into the camera. The first time you just need to confirm here, frequency, capture mode, PTZ mode. I just hit next here. Here's for the time configuration and also for DHCP, which means the camera can get an IP directly from your router. Or you can manually assign one IP address, okay? Right now I'm gonna give this option here for DHCP, okay? And remember something important, okay? Right now, the camera has this IP address, 192.168.0.90. So you need to have your computer in the same range, because if you're going to use the default IP address, you need to be in the same range to reach the camera. So let me just show you here on my network. When I right click here and go to open networking settings, and here on internet, change adapter options, I find my adapter here, the Ethernet adapter, or in your case could be the Wi-Fi adapter. In any case, I have here the IP address for my network, which is 192.168.0.160. That's for my computer. So we are basically in the same network. As you can see here for the camera, the final is 90. And for my computer, the final is 160. But the same IP address range for both devices, my computer and the camera, okay? If you don't have your computer like that in the same range of the camera, you'll not be able to reach the camera, okay? So what you can do here is just come to properties and here on Internet Protocol version 4, you can assign an extra IP address. You don't need to remove your IP address. You can just use your IP address here and add a new one. Here, for example, if I come to advanced, I can add an extra IP address here. As you can see, I have two different IP addresses here for my computer. You can add an extra one here if you want to. So basically, you add a new IP address, and then you have your regular IP address plus the IP for the camera's range, right? Or you can use DHCP, okay? In this case, for DHCP, for example, back here to the camera, if I enable DHCP here, I need to have my router connected here on my network. So I have a cable here that goes to my router. So here we go. I will connect this cable here to my switch. So now my switch is also connected to the router and then the router can reach the camera and give the camera an IP address when the camera asks for it, right? So here I will leave like this. So instead of having this IP address, that's the default one, I will get an IP address from my router. If you have a totally different network here, your router is going to give the camera an IP, so it doesn't matter, right? So I'll hit next here. Wait for it to continue. And I hit next here, it's not working for some reason. Probably the camera got a different IP address. Let me just double check. You always have this software here that you can check with IP utility. Let me just come back here, refresh. Perhaps when I connected the cable there, the camera can get a new IP address, and that's the case. That's why my interface is no longer working here, because now I have a different IP address. So let's start over. So here now I have the IP ending in 52, and I can continue from here, okay? So next now it's working. And here we go. Now I'm gonna have image from the camera, and it's upside down, and then I can change the orientation here to 180 degrees. And then I rotate the image, and I'm good to go, okay? Let me just move my hand here in front of the camera, so I see that's working pretty fine there, and it's not upside down anymore, okay? So I'm good to go here. I'll just hit done, and my camera is working now with the new IP address, okay? So if I come here to the settings, I can access all the menus here for the camera, right? So everything's working pretty fine with the new IP address, okay? So I have here menu for stream, so I can control everything in the camera related to image, overlay, I can control everything that shows up here in the screen, right? And let me come here to system, and here I have more options, TCP IP. And here, let me see if I have the option here for automatic IP. Okay, if I want to change to manually, I can change from here. Okay, so if I want to give the camera an IP, I just come here and I change it here. All right, so here are the current network settings, and I can change the IP address just right here if I want to, and also use the primary DNS or the secondary DNS. So let me just come here for menu, for example, then I can change here if I want to the IP as well. So I can just use DNS manually, or I can use both IP and DNS manually. So I can set here my IP address, my router. Let's say, for example, I want to use this one that the camera gave me, that the router gave to the camera, 52. So instead of having dynamic IP address, I have a static IP address. Now that I know that this one is not being used for the network, because the router knows that, the router gave the camera an IP address, so we're gonna save this as a static IP address, assign it manually, and here the DNS server, I can use 8.8.8.8, for example, is a universal one, and here 8.8.4.4. So it doesn't matter the IP address that you have on your network. The DNS server is universal. You can use those ones, okay? So I'm ready to go. I just hit here save, or here save. Okay, it's here because I just changed the IP address here. So I see the information here that's saved, and I'm ready to go. Okay, so now I can come back here to the image. And now I have my camera work with this IP address, but now it's not DHCP anymore, it's a static IP address, all right? So that's the idea. That's the way you can assign an IP address to the Axis camera. Remember that you just need to connect your camera to the same switch that you have your computer, and then you can either use the default IP address of this camera, which is 192.168.0.90, or you can connect a router to your switch, or connect the camera directly to the router if you power the camera in a different way. But usually you just connect here to a switch, because the switch can power the camera here using this port with the PoE, okay? But if you have a power supply that you can power the camera just a switch because it's a PoE switch. It powers the camera directly here via this cable. And then I connect the switch here to the router, and then the camera can get an IP from there, right? Then you don't need to change anything there because your router is going to give the camera an IP address, and you can just find using here this software. So go for this software, Access Utility. That's the one that's going to find the camera on the network. And then you're good to go from here. Just clicking here on device web interface and logging to the camera, creating a password when you're logging for the first time. Okay, so that's all for today. If you like this video, please subscribe to this channel, leave your thumbs up and your comments, and I see you in the next one.